let me tell you about a client who is a new business owner and he needed some payroll. So he thought it was easy enough to just go on QuickBooks Payroll with a couple clicks, bam, he's done. Little did he know, years later, he is ending up owing thousands to IRS for payroll taxes that he didn't pay. So let me tell you how we're working with him and the IRS to settle his debts and what is the whole process of that. So the very first thing my client did wrong was try to do it himself. And as business owners, especially in the trades, you're the muscle. We understand that you're the muscle, and sometimes the muscle and the administration part don't always go together. So they're very two different things. And so my client thought, you know what, easy enough to just go on QuickBooks Payroll, do a couple clicks, sign up my employees for payroll, and we can get them paid. And that's essentially correct. You are doing the right thing by getting us a payroll software and getting your employees paid correctly by taking out the Social Security, Medicare, withholding, and doing that, right? But sometimes we don't understand the levels of payroll that these softwares have. Sometimes they're full service, sometimes they're very basic, sometimes you need to do some of the work also to save yourself money, right? So what my client did was he signed up for a very basic plan that only literally just cut the checks for the employees. And so that left out paying your taxes. The software, what it did was created the files, created the forms, and submitted the forms to the agencies of the taxes that were due, but the client never sent in the payment. He thought that he ran payroll, he was good to go. Years later, he got these letters from the IRS saying he owes all these thousands of dollars. Why? I did everything right, he told me. And so I'm like, well, let's take a look at your paperwork. Let's take a look at what these letters mean. So digging and troubleshooting and investigating. So what happened was that the client was under the impression that it was a full service payroll. So now we have to go back and negotiate with the IRS how to lower these fees. There's interest and penalties that have now accumulated. So we have to pay the liability because it's there. That is a given. We can't escape that. We have to pay it. But then there's penalties and interest. Now, one thing that IRS does is that you will never be forgiven on interest. You didn't pay them, they want their money. So interest very rarely is ever forgiven. But we can work with penalties. We can do an abatement. That's what it's called. So how we ask for forgiveness is by filing an abatement to lower the cost of these penalties. And that's where we come in as tax professionals, as accountants. We know the right words to say to be able to lower those penalties. Sometimes what happens is that the client isn't consulting with somebody first. And so that's where we grab on and tell the IRS, listen, our client didn't know what he was doing, and this is how we're helping him now. We promise that going forward, we are going to be doing things the right way. So just giving you a little feedback on, as much as we want to save money as new business owners, it's so much more valuable just to have a consultation with a tax professional or even an accountant. Go with an accountant that is experienced in payroll, bookkeeping, and in those ways where, at least, let's say you're not ready to pay for a payroll service with an accountant, but the accountant can give you some insight on, hey, look out for this, look out for that. This is what can save you money, or this is what's going to cost you money in the long run if you don't do it correctly. So we want to remember that when we are starting a business and we are paying employees, that, there's more than just personal and business taxes that we need to pay. we need to pay payroll taxes, which includes Social Security and Medicare. We need to pay FUTA, FICA, which is the 940 and 941 that are quarterly, or depending on how much payroll you spend or how much you spend on payroll. 940 is yearly, and that's the federal unemployment tax that you need to pay. Then there's the state unemployment insurance that you need to pay, SUI, which is what you pay at the state. There's also state withholding that you need to pay. So just make sure that you are aware what are the types of taxes, payroll taxes that you need to pay for what state you're in also. If this story resonates with you and you can relate to it, please give us a call at Midwest Bookkeeping, 414-509-1441, and we'd be happy to see you and consult with you. We see clients all over the US, and we're able to meet with you virtually too. If you're learning from this type of content, please stay tuned for more.